Hello, welcome to another video, and today we're going to be discussing about 8 Dual Nationals the USMNT needs to cement in 2023. So, let's begin. So, obviously, the topic about Dual Nationals for the USMNT is a very important topic, and obviously, it is one where obviously we need to approach these Dual Nationals. So, obviously, let's just find some examples of Dual Nationals and that we have seen, like obviously the World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup is a big stage, so obviously we're going to be discussing about the nationals that we won. So obviously, right now, obviously, right off the top of my head, obviously, Unit Musos or Zendejas. Obviously, those are the two big ones. Obviously, there's been other dual nationals as well. Christian Pulisic and Timothy Weah are dual nationals, and they were our starting wingers during the World Cup. Who as well has been Jedi Robinson was the dual national as well. So obviously we have plenty of dual nationals that obviously we have won, and obviously these are big dual nationals as well. Some dual national that should have been in the World Cup is obviously going to be Ricardo Pepi and Jordan Flach. Both of them should have been in the World Cup, but since Greg Berhalter is an idiot, obviously we decided to bring Haji Wright and Jesus Ferreira instead. I don't Nothing against Haji Wright, but I don't think he's quite on the level of Ricardo Pepi or Jordan Flach. But still, those are some examples of dual nationals that we have won throughout the years. So obviously now let's discuss about youth national team players. Obviously these doesn't mean that they'll get capped at or anything, but still, players that I underlined are players that I see having a big role for us in the U20 World Cup. I think Maxi Carrizo is as well a U20. I think he is. I'm not really sure, but Jonathan Gomez, Tony Leone, Over Vargas, Rodrigo Neri, Justin Che and Luca Caliosho are some examples of big dual national team, big dual nationals that we need to see for the U20 group. Obviously, the U20 group was absolutely on fire. Obviously, they were on fire during the U20 CONCACAF Championship, and obviously the two big ones I can see that we need to win over here are probably. Obviously, I think all of them are big. Obviously, I see Jonathan Gomez, Obert Vargas, Rodrigo Neri, and Justin Shea as the big ones. I see them as the big ones. Tony Leone and Luca Caliosho are as well big, but I'm not really sure what's their ceiling right now. But obviously they are big as well. Brian Romero, Cruz Medina, they're from the U17s. Obviously they're big as well. Christian McFarlane is an English dual national. Maxi Carrizo and Rodrigo Neri are both Argentinian dual nationals, so obviously there's that as well. Rodrigo Neri has been training with the senior team for Atletico de Madrid, so obviously I'd like to see him at the U20 World Cup to see how he looks. Like if we bring Ricardo Pepi, then obviously there I'm not too pissed off about it because obviously I know Ricardo Pepi is too good for the U20s. But if he decides to come to the U20s, like obviously we have a legit chance of winning the U20 World Cup. So obviously there's that. So now let's discuss about the first player that I can for the senior team, and it's Alejandro Zendejas. So Alejandro Zendejas was screwed over by Mexico, and obviously he's pretty pissed off of them right now. So obviously for now we look like the front runners of getting Alejandro Zendejas. I think he can be a backup for Timothy Well for 1 or 2 years. I don't really see him being a long-term player. I don't like. It depends on what type of manager we get. If we decide to get less wide players, like instead of like play like a 3-4-3 like types of 3-4-2-1 where Christian Pulisic and Timothy are playing a little bit more central, or Gio Reyna. Like a lot of the players can put out in that system. I don't think Alejandro Sandejas will have a very long career with the national team. If he should go abroad if he really wants to be playing for the national team long term. But obviously Alejandro Sandejas, obviously for a type of player for Greg's system, I think he would have been perfect. He's a player that likes to dribble a lot, and obviously we could have used them. Obviously we decided to bring Jordan Morris and who else? We decided to bring Jordan Morris to the World Cup, which was obviously a big screw up from Greg Berhalter. What a surprise! What a surprise! So obviously there's that. So now let's go to Pierie. Pierie is a Dutch dual national. He plays the center back, and he's going to be on loan for Excelsior for the rest of the season. So obviously he's going to be playing Eredivisie First Division. At the Second Division at the Eredivisie for young Ajax, he has been looking pretty good. So obviously there is that. But obviously as well, I can see I can see him being playing pretty decent at the Eredivisie level. When he has been at the Eredivisie, like he hasn't been looked too good, but obviously for me, I think right now is the chance. And if he decides to like solidify a role at Excelsior, if he still has a role over there, I think he has a legit chance of playing for in the World Cup. I don't see him in Nations League quite yet. Like our starting center backs are Tim Ream and Cameron Carter Vickers. Backups are probably going to be Chris Richards and Walker Zimmerman. And obviously there's other players as well like Austin Trusty, Sam Rogers as well has been looking pretty good at Norway. So obviously there's a lot of players. There's quite a few center backs, but I think Pierre, if he becomes a starter, he can put himself in the conversation. James Sands as well. James Sands as well. He is part of that center back depth chart. So obviously there's plenty of center backs, but I can see Pierre if he decides to become a starter. So Leon Flach. Leon Flach is a German international, and he plays for Philadelphia Union. So obviously, it all depends on whether we call him up. And I think we should start calling him up starting the January camp. Leon Flach, obviously, I don't see him playing for the German national team anytime soon. They have a lot of guys in that group. Obviously, Joshua Kimmich and Ilkay Gundogan. Tony Kroos retired, but obviously Tony Kroos, if he didn't retire, I think he would have started at Qatar. Let's be real over here. Obviously Jamal Musiala. So there's a lot of guys that Germany do have, and obviously I don't see him being part of that group anytime soon. So I think it all depends on whether we call him up. He can be a backup six to Tyler Adams. Like I think Colin Acosta. I think if we go into the 2026 with Colin Acosta, I think that's going to be pretty bad. Like to be honest, like Colin Acosta is a one-dimensional player, and obviously Alex Mendez is next. Center mid, a dual 8. So obviously he's a dual national with Mexico. So obviously there's even bigger reason to get him. So obviously Alex Mendez was a starter at Vizela, but he kind of was dropped like as of recent. So obviously we should probably start the process with Alex Mendez as soon as we can. Like I think Nations League and the Gold Cup. I think Gold Cup we should have a good look into him during Gold Cup. I think it's going to be a pretty good opportunity for him. So I think yeah. So now let's go to the next player, which is going to be Amir Richardson. He's on Rhymes. There's plenty of Americans right now at Rhymes, but he's on one with his current club Le Havre in League Two. He has been looking pretty good as a dual 8 and as a 6, and he's a French dual national. So obviously France has a lot of guys like do you even have to name them? Paul Pogba, N'Golo Kante, Tukameni, Kamavinga, so there's that as well. So obviously I think it all depends whether we call him up or not, and I think we should have a look onto him during the Gold Cup. We should have a look on him if he is good enough. I think he can become a starter at Rhymes. I think he has been looking pretty good at League 2 level, so I think he can be a pretty good player for us. Uh, he says he has gone to America before, so obviously there's that. And he was the son of an NBA player. Even bigger reason why we should get him as well. So now let's go to Brandon Vasquez. Brandon Vasquez was one of the top goal scorers in Major League Soccer last season. At 24, he's still young, and he has been rumored to go to Belgium. So there's that. He's a dual national with Mexico. So obviously Mexico, like they don't have a lot of good strikers right now at the moment. Like apart from Santi Jimenez, like who's really a good Mexican striker right now at the moment. So obviously for me, I see it as a good opportunity to steal yet another striker from Mexico. Obviously, there's a lot of players right now for us that are strikers and are looking pretty good. Obviously, there's Ricardo Pepi, who has been scoring lots of goals at the Eredivisie. Jordan Pifak has been looking pretty good at the Bundesliga. Daryl DK and Josh Sargent have been scoring goals in the championship, and they have been pretty consistent at the championship level, both of them. Who as well can I name off the top of my head? There's some other dual nationals coming later that are strikers, and there are two. So obviously, I'm not gonna name them just yet, but obviously there's that. Uh, so obviously there's plenty of strikers. Jesus Ferreira scoring goals in Major League Soccer. If he decides to get a move abroad, I think that pushes Brandon Vasquez to get at that move abroad, which I think he does need. He needs it. Haji Wright, yet another one. So there's plenty of competition for that spot. So now let's finally finish this off with these two players, which are going to be Maurice Malone, the first one, Dual National with Germany. Obviously, Germany have Yusuf Moukoko, the player who lied about his age. He's 22. Yusuf Moukoko. Mukoko, I don't really know how to pronounce his name. Obviously, they have Kai Havertz who plays as a false nine, which he's not that good to be honest. So obviously, I don't think Germany do really need him right now. Like I think if he plays in the Austrian Bundesliga, he's been looking pretty good over there. He can play as a right winger, and I think if we ever had to have a good look into him, I think Gold Cup would be the most like I I think we should have a good look into him during World Cup. I think there's some strikers that are ahead of him. Obviously, Ricardo Pepi is one of them, and obviously other guys like Jordan Pifak and Haji Wright. I do have him. I do have them over him. Uh, I think I do have as well Josh Sargent over him, and as well Daryl DK. It depends on whether he starts to score a lot more goals in the championship. You see, Daryl DK is scoring goals, but obviously, if he decides to score more, obviously there's a bigger reason for that. So now, finally, let's discuss about Folarin Balogun. So for me, the number one priority we should be trying to get right now is obviously going to be Folarin Balogun. He's scoring goals at Rhymes. He's scoring lots of goals. It's like he has already 10 goals in Liga. And if Tim was already dominating CONCACAF opposition and he's like kind of in and out of the squad at times, imagine what Folarin Balogun can do scoring double digits in Liga against CONCACAF opposition. I think we should have a good look into him at Nations League, at the Final Four of Nations League. I think he can be our starting striker for Copa America for 2026 World Cup. I think he's right up there with Ricardo Pepi for that spot, and I think we should try and have a good look into him. I think Van Balogun right now should be the number one priority for the us to get for next year. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Adios. Bye bye.